So obviously TBM has been like your biggest like child since we've talked last, and TBM, I did not expect you to roll out the products line that you were. I didn't expect TBM to compete in the brake space, I guess you could say. Like drag brakes are kind of their own thing.
Yeah, it was very much a boutique company, but when we bought it, I had this like great vision that it was just gonna like do its thing, and I was gonna come down here for 6 months or a year and then go back to Iowa, and it's kind of become an animal. So it's not only just expanding the drag brake line, but I learned early on that a lot of the engineering and principles that makes TBM so great in the drag racing world. I was like, man, if we apply these to the street brake market, the street performance market, it's just going to create something really awesome, and it has. And now we have a team to expand it at a fast pace. I think we've made behind the scenes this week, we've made 8 brake kits to go on that XS3 platform. So
yeah, so the XS3 are like the big dogs, compete with like your Bear, Brembo,
I mean,
the bigger style brakes.
We're just trying to
you would probably call them something smarter, like a 6-piston or 4-piston.
Brakes are that brake, and we have more coming, like more sizes. That one's like a 12-inch brake, so it's basically made to bridge the gap between like what comes factory on your Hellcat, which is a big heavy brake that can handle all kinds of craziness like road racing, and our drag brakes. And I think that's a big gap in the market, and we the caliper, the rotor package, the weight, like we've killed it on that. So it's that's where we're applying what we know. Plus we're trying to make them look nice. I feel like, believe it or not, brakes are really judged a lot like on looks. So
yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, especially on like a CTSV, where you guys just did the kit on, the looks are so important on that. Kind of the factory colors are important on that, like the yellow that you guys put on that one.
Yep.
And then they also fit a 17, so it's kind of like you don't lose anything. You actually gain, and you don't lose the stopping power. So it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think on that CTS V2 kit, which is pretty similar like the S550 and Hellcats, like you can drop 50 pounds off the factory brakes, plus then like you can run a lighter wheel that's 10, 15 pounds lighter, So it's crazy. And that translates into 3-4 tenths of a second off your quarter mile time. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, that is so stupid on like a CTSV to lose that much and not actually lose anything.
Yeah.
Because that's the best part. Like, every part you put on a car is a trade-off.
Yep.
You lose something by putting some part on.
Yeah.
So to not give up very much is pretty nice.
Yeah, and when we designed that, we wanted a vented rotor brake, but we didn't want to give up stopping power. So if you look at the size of pistons and the design of our caliper, it has as much clamping and braking force as what comes on our factory. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you might not road race it for 24 hours straight and have those results, but when you drive these cars, one of the important things for me on these brakes was I don't want to give anything up in terms of a guy driving, on the weekend with his wife or girlfriend or something like that. Yeah. But I also want him to be able to race on them. So we spent a lot of time perfecting that, but it's a really unique design, caliper and stuff. But yeah.
Well, it's an interesting market too, as cars aren't what they were. So with ABS and all that other stupid things and the weight of the cars, not everybody can just put a tiny little drag brake on things and feel confident. Yeah. So a lot of people, especially drag and drive guys, will probably just opt for the bigger brakes because the extra weight savings from that point on isn't that important to them.
Yeah, I think we're within 5 or 6 pounds per side of our drag brakes, which is pretty minimal for most people. Yeah. A guy like me, I'm going to save those 6 pounds, but the rest of them are well, I want to drive this car the rest of the year and not worry about it. Mm-hmm. So that's what's important. But
if you're towing a trailer or something on our drag and drive and you got a G8 or something like that, you might want that little extra stopping power.
Yeah, and you're going to get, the pad style we used on this one, you're going to get a lot more life out of, and the rotors and all that stuff. The brakes, I could probably have a whole podcast just of myself talking, not that anybody would listen, but as I've learned more about brakes, the whole concept of 6-piston and all that stuff is so confused. It's almost like they think because there's more pistons they're better, but if you look at the square inches of piston and the force being created by that XS3 caliper, it's actually more powerful than a lot of the 6-piston brakes out there. So
I think of Gale Banks when you say that, where he's You ever listen to him just like shit on companies that do things because he's like, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about, but everybody kind of just follows the leader.
Yep.
And it's
six piston is like a catchphrase at this point. You know, like I can create you a 6-piston brake that's worse than our 2-piston front drag brakes. You know, but for some reason in the normal person's perception, that's still a better brake, but it's not. You know,
it's gotta be. It's got more numbers.
Yeah, more numbers are better. So.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Like, how could it not be?
Brakes are really simple when you get down to a piston size and the amount of pressure being applied to them.
It's just hydraulics.
It's hydraulics, yeah.
And once they're locked up, they're kind of locked up. If you have enough clamping force to lock them up.
Yeah, you got a little bit of brake bias. You got some pad, compounds, and it's not as complicated as people make it out to be. I mean, the engineering is, but making a good system isn't.
And the zero drag is kind of the most important part of your brakes on the TBM side, is the not binding up when they're after you release the pedal, they're not still stopping the car.
Yeah, and we have a really bad business strategy because we sell these calipers that don't ever go bad, so we never sell people a second set of calipers or anything like that.
Yeah, you need to take a book out of like some of the other manufacturers or OEM. They're a good shining light to follow of serviceability.
Sometimes the OEM stuff's pretty good. It just doesn't always look that great. Until recent years, they've started to figure it out, but
Figured out selling more of them and going bad, or figured out looking better?
Looking better.
Okay, yeah. That's subjective, though.
Sometimes.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because
like a new Cadillac has good brakes, good-looking brakes on
exactly.
it. New Camaro, new Corvette.
Like my CTSV has awesome-looking brakes on it, but like, you buy a V8 Mustang and they have like the worst-looking brakes of all
raw
time.
cast, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they don't even look the same side to side. Sometimes they have like different casting.
Yeah.
Depending on,
especially if it was built during COVID when they just threw parts that they could find.
There was a Mustang that rolled out the other day that had mismatching seats. Like somebody at the dealership was like,
as we've been developing brake kits, we found that cars built during that COVID time, like they'll have from the same year car will have different lines and fittings on it, like different sizes and stuff. You can definitely tell they were just trying to scrounge whatever sources for parts they could. It's weird, this day and age to see that.
Guys, thank you for tuning in to the Bogetti Clips YouTube channel. For the full podcast, check us out on Bogetti Studios YouTube and all your audio platforms. Also, hit that subscribe button to not miss out on any of the new Bogetti clips coming up.